Hey guys, in this month's Historical Fiction 101, I'm going to be sharing with you some of my favorite historical fiction couples. So it's the month of February, meaning it's the month of love, meaning it's Valentine's Day. So I just wanted to do something a little different for historical fiction this month and share with you some of my favorite historical fiction couples. Some of them are real couples in real life from history, but yeah, I think I only have one. Now that I think about it, I think I only have one real historical couple, and then the rest are historical fiction couples. And this list is in no particular order. I'm just kind of going through it as is. First, I have Jamie and Claire from Outlander by Diana Gabaldon. These two are so great. I love their relationship. If you don't know what Outlander is about, it follows a woman named Claire Randall. She's living in the 1940s. World War II has just ended. And her and her husband, they go on a second honeymoon to Scotland, and during her trip she comes across these standing stones that have a magical history about them, and she touches one of the stones, and the next thing that happens is she finds herself transported to like the 1750s, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere in there in the 1700s. And what's going on? Claire, she can't go back to her own time period. And yeah, it's during her time here in Scotland in the 1700s. She runs across all of these clans and Scotsmen, and one of the Scotsmen happens to be hot, red-headed Jamie Fraser. And, you know, I love how their relationship is, because it's not an immediate attraction. You know, it's a very gradual attraction, because the thing is, Claire is technically married, you know, and she's still grieving about her husband, wondering about, is he looking for her? What is he thinking? Does he think she ran away, you know? And yeah, at the same time, how the hell does she get back to her own reality, you know? So yeah, I love how the Jamie and Claire relationship initially starts off, because it's a very slow progress, but once it gets going and really heated and passionate, yeah, you quickly fall in love with the Jamie and Claire relationship, and you kind of push her husband to the side, unfortunately. Next, I have Jonathan and Arabella Strange from Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clarke. If you don't know what this book is about, it takes place during the Napoleonic Wars in England, and it's fantasy, and it's about magic, and it follows these two rival magicians, one who is trying to modernize magic, but then another guy who's really conservative about magic. And yeah, you have Jonathan Strange and his wife Arabella Strange. They are so adorable. I do gotta say, even though I liked their relationship in the book, I do definitely have a preference for how their relationship was interpreted on the TV miniseries that aired a couple years ago. Because on the TV miniseries, their relationship is a bit more equal, whereas in this book, Arabella can be a bit of a nagging wife, which was a bit of a turn-off on occasion. But still, despite that, I still love their relationship in this book, because Jonathan Strange, he's trying to learn how to do magic, and he wants to modernize magic, and yeah, his wife, even though Arabella can be a bit nagging on occasion, she's still there to help encourage him and tell him, you know, to keep going and don't listen to what other people are telling him to do and whatnot. And yeah, Jonathan Strange, he will do anything for his wife. There is some pretty intense moments in this book. He will do anything for his wife and go save her and protect her. And yeah, I'm being really vague. I don't want to get into spoilers, but yeah, there's something really crazy that happens to his wife, and is really intense and really romantic. Next, I have Edgar Allan Poe and Frances Osgood from Lynn Cullen's Mrs. Poe. And this is the only pairing on my list that are real historical people. Not necessarily a real couple in real life, but at least real people. And yeah, oh my goodness, I loved this book, you guys. I think this was one of my favorite books that I read from 2015, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, Mrs. Poe, this book, it's about a poet named Frances Osgood. She writes children's literature, and yeah, she was a real woman during the time period. And Frances Osgood, her favorite literary writer is Edgar Allan Poe. She has such a huge crush on this guy. So one day, the two of them, they happen to meet at a party, they hit it off. And yeah, the one obstacle that stands in the way of their relationship is Poe's very young but very sick wife, Virginia Poe. So yeah, this was such a great book. It was presenting a historical what if, because there's no real proof that Poe and Osgood had a relationship back in the day. They did exchange letters and whatnot, and I think there was rumors that they were having an affair with one another, but there's really no like proof, I don't think. So yeah, I love that Lynn Cullen, she experimented with that, you know, explored the idea of, hey, what if they really did have a deep affair with one another. And I just love their relationship, you know, in a historical fiction context, because they see each other as equals. They're both writers. They both feel like the writing community just kind of ignores them, you know. Next, I have Alexia Terabody and Lord Macon from the Parasol Protectorate series by Gail Carriger. And I love these two. I keep saying that about every pairing, you guys. And yeah, if you don't know what the Parasol Protectorate series is about, it's a alternate version, a steampunk version of Victorian London, if you will. So you have werewolves and vampires and ghosts and yeah, steampunkery. And Alexia Terabody, she has the power to nullify like the powers of vampires and werewolves and kind of momentarily make them human, if you will. So of course, not only is this a steampunk version of Victorian London, it's also a romance. And Alexia, she falls in love with Lord Macon, who's a werewolf, and things are pretty hot, sexy, steamy. It's great. And I love how they play off of each other because they don't immediately hit it off. It is a gradual thing. And yeah, because at first I think more than anything they just totally hate each other and dislike each other, and they just have all sorts of things to gripe and complain about. But yeah, of course, opposites attract. Next, I have Tatiana and Alexander from The Bronze Horseman by Paulina Simons. And you guys, this might be my favorite historical couple of all time. I am not lying, I'm not exaggerating. I freaking love Tatiana and Alexander. They have one of the most passionate relationships. Is it a perfect relationship? No, there are definitely some unhealthy things about their relationship. Alexander could be quite controlling on occasion, but still, at the end of the day, these two will do absolutely anything for each other, as foolish as it may be. And why hasn't this been turned into a TV show yet, you guys, or a series of movies or something? Oh my god, if you love Outlander, you will love this book, you will love this pairing. They are hot and sexy. But yeah, if you don't know what The Bronze Horseman is about, I'll just kind of give you a brief overview of this first book because it is a trilogy. And I do love books 1 and 2. Books 1 and 2 are the best, and then book 3 is pretty disappointing, I gotta say. But yeah, in The Bronze Horseman, it takes place in Russia, and World War II is about to start. And yeah, Tatiana and Alexander, it's about the time they meet each other when the war is starting. And yeah, it takes place in Leningrad, which really goes through a rough patch. And this book is quite harrowing, you guys. If you know anything about what happened to Leningrad during this time, going through extreme rations, extreme winter, yeah, lots of death and chaos. It is crazy. Not a good time, most certainly, but yeah, Tatiana and Alexander, they stick it out with one another. Next, I have Tessa and Will from the Infernal Devices series by Cassandra Clare, part of the Mortal Instruments universe, if you will, the Shadowhunter universe. And oh my goodness, I think this is my only, looking at my list, I think this is my only young adult pairing on this list. Oh my goodness, you guys. Will and Tessa, so freaking adorable. If you kind of get the theme going on in this video, I'm into couples that don't immediately kind of hit it off. It's a gradual process with the relationships, and sometimes the male love interest can be a bit harsh and mean. And for some reason I'm kind of into that. I'm kind of into the bad boy. And that's definitely what Will Herondale is in this book. He's definitely a bad boy. He kind of tries to push Tessa to the side and ignore her, but he has his very specific reasons why he's doing what he's doing. And it's quite tragic and heartbreaking once you get the big reveal. And yeah, if you don't know what The Infernal Devices is about, it's a 3-part series. It takes place in Victorian London. And yeah, werewolves, vampires, all that good stuff. Very much like Parasol Protectorate. If you like Parasol Protectorate, you'll really like this series as well, I think. And I've read a lot of young adult fiction, you guys. I've read a lot of it, and there's not too many couples that I enjoy. And Tessa and Will are one of the few young adult couples that I really love and appreciate. They have such a great dynamic with one another. Next, I have Mary Alsworthy and Lord Sebastian Vaughan from Book 4 in the Pink Carnation series, The Seduction of the Crimson Rose. If you don't know anything about the Pink Carnation series, I feel like I've been talking a lot about it recently. The Pink Carnation series, it's a 13-part book series, but in each book there's a different couple that is focused on. So you can kind of just randomly pick up whichever book. You don't really have to read them in any particular order, which is kind of great. But yeah, out of all of the couples in this series, Mary and Lord Vaughan are by far and away my favorite couple, because in the series all of these other couples are kind of almost cliche. You know, if you've read things like Pride and Prejudice and Sense and Sensibility, you know, that's kind of the general look at the couples. But Mary and Lord Vaughan, they're a total opposites. You know, they're not all about those cliches. They're both really dry with their humor, they're both witty, they're both sardonic. And that's what draws them together. You know, their personalities, they don't fit in with the rest of society. You know, they don't fit in with how everyone else is and all of this lovey-dovey gushiness and stuff, you know. But the two of them, they are drawn to each other because of their personalities, that they don't fit in with society. And they've both had a pretty hard, rough life in the past, and they just connect on that level, and I love the two of them. Easily my favorite couple in this entire series. Very sexy. Next, I have Hook and Stella from Elias Hook by Elisa Jensen, and this book is a retelling of the Peter Pan story by J.M. Barrie. But here's the twist. It's kind of like Once Upon a Time. If you love Once Upon a Time, you guys, you will love this book. The twist with this book is that Peter Pan is actually the villain and Captain Hook is actually the good guy. So yeah, there's quite a few things going on in this book, because it starts off in the 1700s. You're introduced to Captain Hook, how he becomes Captain Hook, how he gets to Neverland. And yeah, he stays in Neverland for quite a few centuries until one day a woman arrives in Neverland. And it's an unheard of thing. This is quite a remarkable event that has happened in the universe of this book, that a woman has arrived, a grown woman. So Hook, he's introduced to Stella, and what we kind of learn through context, I want to say, is that Stella, she's coming from like the 1940s, I believe. So yeah, I love the Hook and Stella relationship, you know, put into this whole Peter Pan world. It was so great, so well done. And the thing about the Hook and Stella relationship, the big question overall is Stella, is she going to be the person to save Captain Hook, or is she going to be his ultimate destruction? It gets rather melodramatic, not gonna lie, and maybe a bit predictable on occasion, but still, the two of them have such a great relationship. And like I said, if you love Once Upon a Time, if Captain Hook is your favorite character on Once Upon a Time, you gotta pick this book up. Next, I have Hans and Rosa Huberman from The Book Thief by Marcus Zuzak. And you guys, I went back and forth because I knew that I wanted to put at least one couple from The Book Thief on this list. So I kind of kept going back and forth, because at first I was like, oh, I'll put Liesel and Rudy on the list, but then I was like, nah, I'll just take them off. And then not gonna lie, I was also thinking about Liesel and Max. you guys. Now hear me out. Even though Liesl and Max, there's a huge age difference there, in my head, in my fan fiction, I like to think that Liesl and Max, once she grew up and got of age, I like to think that the two of them rode away into the sunset with one another and got married. But yeah, I decided not to go with Liesl and Max or Liesl and Rudy, so I ultimately went with Hans and Rosa. Oh my goodness, I love Hans and Rosa. They are one of the most real couples. You know, out of every couple that I got on this list, they are the most real. And yeah, if you don't know what The Book Thief is about, it takes place during World War II in Nazi Germany. And what you explore with this novel, you know, not all of the German people were bad. There were people like Hans and Rosa who wanted to change things and they didn't agree with what was going on. So yeah, you're getting to see the side of Germany that's not often depicted in other historical fiction, in movies and television and whatnot. And I love Hans and Rosa. They are just so real and genuine with one another. I love their dynamic. I love their bickering and their arguing, but at the end of the day, it's all about love. And the last couple that I have on this list is perhaps the most sad and depressing couple on this list, and that's Robbie and Cecilia from Ian McEwan's Atonement. Woo, you guys. I love this book. I love this couple. It's all pretty heartbreaking and devastating. And here's the thing about poor Robbie and Cecilia. They both come from different backgrounds because Cecilia, she is wealthy. Robbie, he's not. I think he's the gardener, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think he's the gardener. Or a servant, at least. I've not read this book in an extremely long time, you guys. So yeah, they both have different societal positions, different roles in life. But Robbie and Cecilia, they're still attracted to one another. There's something there that's still drawing them together. So one day, Robbie and Cecilia, they do get together in the library, and who walks in but Cecilia's little sister, Bryony. And Bryony, not understanding what she's seen, she creates a huge lie. And this lie gets Robbie in trouble. So there kind of goes the Robbie and Cecilia relationship. And that's just the beginning of this book, you guys. That's all in the first, like, 50 pages or so. And yeah, the book, it takes place in World War II. So you see a lot with Robbie during the war, especially at Dunkirk. And then Cecilia, in the meantime, she becomes like a nurse, and her sister becomes a nurse as well. And yeah, it's very tragic, really harrowing, really just puts you into this time period. And yeah, this whole book, not only is it about this relationship between Robbie and Cecilia that kind of can never be, but it's all about this lie, more than anything, that Bryony comes up with. And because of her lie, it changes so much, and she has to live with that guilt. So yeah, you guys, that was it for my favorite historical fiction book couples. There is so many more. I'm probably going to do another one of these next year, a part 2, because there were so many that I had to leave off the list that I wanted to put on here. But you guys, in the comments below, what are some of your favorite historical fiction couples? Just let me know. So that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you like this video, you may like these other videos. Bye guys.